Hi, welcome to another Power Blast podcast. Are you wanting to start achieving real and meaningful success in every area of your life? I mean, I'm talking about things like money, people, faith, work, health. Join me on today's podcast to learn how to use these 5 powerful principles that have been proven over and over again to help people succeed in these areas. I'm so excited for this because I've got a special guest. Stay tuned. Hey everyone, Perry Tinsley here, creator of the Power Blast podcast. I'm a health and fitness coach, and I'm so excited for today's guest. He's written a book, and he's going to share these principles with you just to succeed in many areas of life. My friend that I've known for like 15 years, Doug Fitzgerald. Some of you may know him. He's a motivational and life-changing speaker. He's a personal coach, and he's now an author, which is really cool. He's known for his authentic and relational approach to life, real honest, transparent communication, and he's just been admired for being focused on helping others achieve their life priorities. And over the past 3 years, he's been working on a special project called One Shot, One Life. We're going to talk about a book that he's got out that's going to help you achieve and win in many different areas of life, like money, people, faith, work, health. I'm so excited for today's interview. Let's get to it. All right. Hey, everyone. Welcome to the Power Blast podcast. I've got a special guest on today, my buddy, Doug Fitzgerald. He's down in, I believe, Lincoln, Nebraska. Is that right, Doug?
Yes, Lincoln, Nebraska.
Oh, awesome. I'm so glad to have you on there, man. I mean, like I said in the pre-launch here for the podcast, I mean, Doug's a motivational and life-changing speaker, and he's a personal coach and author. Also, he's a really cool guy, awesome husband, father of 2 incredibly talented kids. You can probably see a poster. If you're watching on the video, you can see a poster of his daughter, as she's a dancer there. And I've known Doug for probably about 15 years in our early workout days where we were rooting each other on these funky fitness message boards and just trying to cheer each other on to success and all the different things there. So Doug's got a brand new book out we're going to talk about today, or coming out, a book that's coming out. We'll tell you all about that today. Welcome, Doug Fitzgerald.
Thanks, Perry. This is so fun. It's exciting to be part of your podcast, and hopefully there'll be some value to your listeners as we go throughout. But I'm just excited to be here with you. I love hanging out with you, and I love all that you do and your energy and enthusiasm. And more than anything, you're an inspiration to me and so many other people just in life in general, with your health and fitness and the relationships you have and all that. So it's an honor, absolute honor to be here.
Oh, thank you. Guys, did I tell you this guy is motivating?
Oh.
I love it. He uplifts people. It's so great. And I'm so glad to have you on here because your book, you've got a book that just came out, and it's pretty cool. When I heard about this a couple months ago, I was like, man, Doug's been busy. He wrote a book, and it's for those of you that maybe just skipped forward and didn't hear the pre-launch. The book is called One Shot, One Life: The Ultimate Success Formula to Help You Win at Anything in Life. And what I love about that title is because it covers a lot of the things that we've been doing for the past 11 years on this podcast. And I'm going to have Doug share with you just some great things that, maybe Doug, why don't we start with the story on how you decided to do a book and what actually created this. I did a little sneak peek, I don't know, an advanced copy of the book, I guess I have, and I've been reading it, so I know the story, but I bet you a lot of you don't know it. So Doug, let me have you share that story.
Sure. Yeah, you're on the pre-launch team, and I appreciate you for that. And the book's coming out September 18th of 2018. And so it's just a few weeks away for us right now. Pre-orders are available at this point. But yeah, I mean, I'll be happy to share about how it was all a God thing. It really was. I weave the story about the relationship with my wife, Tammy, and I throughout the book. And without getting too detailed with that right now, we were going through some counseling, and we were struggling in our marriage at that point. This had been several years ago, 6-7 years ago. And once we got done with our counseling session with our incredible counselor, by the way, he said, Doug, when you get to a healthy place in your relationship, what I want you to do is every time you meet with a guy, I want you to, when they say, hey, how you doing? I want you to say, I'm doing great, but man, Tammy and I really struggle with our marriage and our relationship over the last several years. Got some great counseling. We're doing really good right now. Perry, I went out and the first 10 guys, and a lot of these guys are pretty prominent in our city here in Lincoln. First 10 guys that I did that to, every single one of them said, you've been through that. I'm going through that now. I thought I was all alone and I didn't know what to do. And looking back over the last several years, that really was the beginning or the planting of a seed that really led to where we're at with One Shot right now. One Shot, One Life, I've got the book coming out, but we're building so much more than that from the book. With the website, and we've got online courses and mastermind groups and one-on-one coaching and all that. But going back to how the book came about. So I hired a business coach a few years ago and said, hey, I want to develop something like with what I'm going to do with the rest of my life, the second half of my life. Will you help me through that process? And so with that impetus of realizing I really wanted to reach guys, I wanted to help them in the middle of what the world would call a midlife crisis. Because what we realize is, especially for men, when we deal with issues, especially with our relationship, we kind of withdraw and we kind of hold those things into ourselves and we don't deal with them. And a lot of times guys and gals will make decisions that will impact negatively those people around us during that period of time. And so I just want to help and reach out men and women 35 to 55 in doing that. So we started developing the website and what we were going to create and the content we were going to create and who we were going to reach out to, because we knew what the problems and the issues were, but we wanted to know who we're going to reach out to. So my business coach said, hey, why don't you develop a website? We're going to create an opt-in, a little thing where they can put their name and email address and start emailing them on a regular basis and all that. So she said, why don't you do the success formula that you've been teaching for over 20 years? I taught it when I was in ministry. I taught it in building a couple of great businesses. I've been teaching it to my kids. I mean, it's just a way of life for us. So I started to sit down. She said, why don't you do a 2-page opt-in, PDF? So I started writing 2 pages. 3 years later, it turned into the book. I just told her, I said, it's not a 2-page thing. I think it's more than that. And so she said, hey, let's write the book. And so that's kind of how the book was born. And it's been a 3-year journey since beginning writing that book to where we are today. A year ago, and this is a total God thing, but a year ago, we were going to launch all of this, and she wanted to do my coach wanted to do an ebook version of the book. And I said, well, I want a physical copy because I've got worksheets and I got different things that people are going to walk through, and I want them to be able to hold it right in it. She goes, okay, well, let me talk to a friend of mine. So she talked to an acquisitions editor at Morgan James Publishing, and I got a call within a day from them. And she said, we'd like to meet with you. So I met a week later, and then the acquisitions team, which met twice a year, I believe it was twice a year, and they accepted like 200 books out of 6,000 submissions a year is their average. They met that next week, and she called me and said, hey, we want to publish your book. And so all of a sudden, everything just went on like hyperdrive, and so that's kind of been the journey of where we're at. We're just in the process of getting ready to launch it and excited to be able to share this with the world. So that's kind of in a coconut shell, kind of how the story of the book came about.
Oh man, it is really cool. What I love about the book is when I compare it to other, I don't want to help self-improvement books, personal development books. A lot of times you can get partway through a book and then you're distracted by another book. And then you never end up quite finishing it. And this is a pretty fast read, which I really, really like. But it doesn't necessarily mean that it's not effective because you've got a lot of activities and action items to take. I love the action items part because I'm a person, I do Kindle. So I read it on Kindle and I'm going through and I'm highlighting little things. I'm like, oh, that's good. But then you get to the part that's like some action steps. I'm like, oh, that's the stuff I was highlighting. That's great. So I love that it captures that. And so you make it very usable and very, I don't know, it's to where I feel at least for me, I felt accomplished that I got through a book. You know,
Hey.
I don't know how many of you out there that actually, if you're a Kindle reader, that's why I got Kindles, because so many books ended up on the shelf and they were taking up so much space. It was basically to save space. But how many books, it's just so easy to download, start a book, but never quite finish it. So I know that, that was one of the things where you were like, finish life well. And I'm like, hey, I finished the book well. So that was pretty
Hey,
cool.
good for you, Perry.
Well, thank you.
Excited for you.
Success story. So I love that you got to, I mean, that takes a lot to not only take the time to, to get through what you experienced, the difficult time, to recognize that you needed help to apply whatever it was that you needed to do with between you and Tammy, and to actually seek out the counseling, but to actually turn it around and share that with somebody else. That's big. And then what was your response like when you were hearing a lot of people saying, oh, me too? Did that surprise you?
Oh, I was shocked. I was shocked because, Perry, you've known me for a long time. I'm just a transparent, honest, black and white person. I mean, and the reason why is this: we all have hopes and dreams. There are things in our life that we want to achieve. There are things that we need to achieve. People around us they're relying upon that. And when we can see a need to help other people, I'm going to do that. And if that means opening up our life and being transparent to the hurts and the pains and the things that we've learned along the way, that can help somebody else will do that. But yeah, when I got the responses from people, I was shocked, because I didn't realize that I thought I was all alone. Mm-hmm. I thought the reason, and that's why it was genius of what my counselor said. He said, do this, Doug, because he knew what was going to happen. No, I didn't. I thought I was all alone. And I realized in that moment how important it is to have other people around you supporting you along the way. And so as we began the process of determining, how we're going to start this whole book and how we're going to help people implement the success formula, I gathered 92 people that were friends, colleagues, people that I knew that I trusted. And I asked them this question: what do you worry about that keeps you up at night? And here's a little tip. Something that you can take away that you could do right now. What keeps you awake? If you're listening to this, what keeps you awake at night that you worry about? And the reality is, those are probably identifying the priorities that you need to take care of in your life right now. Because if you're worrying about them and they're keeping you up at night, there's probably things that you can do, action steps you can take, plans that you can implement to start taking care of those things, so you're not worrying about it. So you can actually start having a positive reaction to that and not worry about those things. So we asked people that, and I got another shock, or another surprise, was the honest, real gut responses that people gave me. Nearly everybody got back to me, and what we identified is, took all that information and we compiled it all and identified that there are 5 specific areas, 6 in total, that people really worry about and struggle with in life. And that's the areas of money, people, faith, work, and health, and then in the end, sex. These are things that people worry about. People struggle with these things. So when we began to put the book together, then we identified not only those areas, but then we put together the success formula, which is 5 specific principles that we can talk about in a little bit, that really will help you start dealing with those areas of your life so you're successful. We want to help people stop worrying about those things and start winning in those things, start thriving in those areas, so that we're not feeling like we're all alone, so that we can all surround each other and encourage each other and lift each other up and push each other on to success.
Yeah, I noticed that this will help a lot of people get through many of those roadblocks and things that I think people ignore. We tend to have a problem in our life and think it's going to get better, or we maybe hope that we can figure it out on our own. And then, then it starts to maybe not go in the right direction. And it's easy to, ignore. It's kind of like, I think about it as like the garbage. It's like, oh, I don't really want to deal with that right now, but it keeps piling up, and not going to take care of itself.
Kind of
A
smelly.
lot of times I think we tend to live in our own bubble, within our own heads, and then of course within our own environment, our own house. And you see other people, but you only see little snippets, maybe on social media, maybe at a ball game, maybe out of the store. And you don't know what really people are going through. And I think you got a lot of valuable information that obviously led to this book. And so let's talk about those 5 principles and what maybe, is there any one of them that you like consider the most important?
Sure.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, I think they're all important, but there is specifically one that I think is so valuable
Okay.
that we'll get to. But the success formula is this: we've identified 5 principles that have been around for thousands of years.
Okay.
And I'm a big believer, if you're going to do something that's already been proven. There's no reason to reinvent the wheel. There's nothing new under the sun. You know what I'm saying? So there are 5 principles to the success formula. Number 1, we help you identify priorities. Clear priorities. So you need to set those clear priorities in your life. What are the things that are vital? They're not goals. Okay. Some people say, well, you're just talking about goals. No, I'm talking about priorities. Definition of priority is something that is vital that needs to get done first. So if you look in the dictionary, that's what it says. So we want to identify the things that you need to get done in your life first and help you identify those priorities. So that's principle number 1. Number 2 is, then we're going to help you identify a proven plan, help you find a proven plan, something that's already been successful in other people's lives or those around you, or maybe something you've already done to achieve success in that priority. So then we lead to number 3, which is mastering persistence. It's easy to identify a priority, and we all know it's easy to find a plan, but carrying out that plan, getting through the book, getting through the workout program, getting through, getting out of debt, whatever it might be, learning how to master persistence. And we walk you through that process is principle number 3. Then the last 2 principles are what we call the multipliers. Now, these are what I have found over the last 20 plus years I've been teaching this, that have given people multiple times over success. If you can get to the first 3 and implement the next 2, you're going to see success multiple times. And they are this: the power of regular evaluation. So once you have a plan, you start implementing it. Regularly evaluating your success or lack of success is vital, because that will propel you to be more successful. The last principle is this: the tapping into the power of a success partner. Somebody who is going to not only know what your priorities are, know what your plan is, but somebody that you can have as a sounding board, somebody that will encourage you, somebody that will lift you up when you're down, somebody that will celebrate your successes and help walk you across the finish line. So those are the 5 principles. But the one I feel that's the most powerful of those 5 is the last one. It's tapping into the power of a success partner. And the reason why is this. Again, it goes back to what we talked about at the beginning. It's so easy to get alone and try to achieve a lot of things on your own. But it has been proven over and over and over again that if you tap in and work with other people along the way, you're going to have more success. There's more accountability. Perry, we were not designed in this world. We were not created to live life alone. We were created to live in community. And when you can live in community, not just in community, but community where people are pushing each other on to success, that's where you're going to have the most success. So that 5th one is tapping into the power of a success partner is great. I've had success partners in all areas of my life. I've had success partners that have been older than me, younger than me. I've had a success partner over the last 10 years. We meet every single week for about 3 hours on Thursdays. We Zoom, we do video conference. We've been doing that. I've had success partners that have lasted a year. I've been part of mastermind groups. I've been part of success partners in my health and in my fitness and my finances. So they come in various shapes and forms. But in the book, what I identify and help people realize is I have 3 questions that people ask me about success partners. Why do I need a success partner? So we walk through the benefits of what a success partner is. Number 2, how do I find a success partner? Because it can be pretty intimidating when you're trying to, who do I look to and where do I, how do I ask them and what do I tell them? And are they going to think I'm nuts and all this kind of stuff? And then the third thing is once I've found a success partner, what do we do? What's the process that we can go through that we can really be successful? So in the book, we lay that all out in that chapter. So that's the success formula, 5 principles, and what I believe is probably one of the most powerful ones in finding a success partner.
I'm glad you said that, because to be honest, when I couldn't wait to get my hands on the book when I heard about it, and so I got the Kindle and I jumped to that chapter first. and truth be told, I think I there was maybe about 3-4 month stint, probably 5-6 years ago, that I was part of a little mastermind group. and maybe a success. I want to say a success buddy, but nothing of any formal format where we were going along. So that's an arena that I've I've been in groups and little business, short-term groups where we matched up with somebody, but nobody of long term. And I can see where it can be so powerful. And I've seen over the years known that you've had, met with your success partner or for weekly. And I'm like, gosh, I want that. And so I'm glad you laid that out on how to do that. And I've already made my list. I'm reaching out,
Good.
just kind of see, you don't know if somebody else is ready to reciprocate in that arena. But thanks a lot for putting that. So that, believe it or not, that I kind of read it in a different order.
That's
I
good.
read that one first and like, oh, that's cool. Now let's go back and find out what the meat and potatoes are of this book. So that's really cool. So I mean, you've got so what if somebody has a dream that they want to pursue, and obviously they can use this as to achieve that?
Oh, absolutely. We talked about the initial, when people set out to, most people in our society, the closest they get to setting out to achieve any type of goal in their life or priority is New Year's. They make their resolutions, and then a few weeks later, it's all done, if they get to that point. And a lot of times we identify problems or issues, right, that we want to take care of. And that's what we address initially in the book, where we help people identify priorities. And we talk about three specific things. The needs in your life that have to get taken care of. They don't get taken care of, something negatively will be impacted in your life. Then we talk about the shoulds, things that you should take care of down the road, that if you don't take care of them now, down the road, they're going to be a need. They're going to be a pestering thing. I should save some money for my kids' college education. I should, study for that test that's coming up next week. I should, make sure that I'm eating right this week so that I get the benefits next week. But if you don't take care of those things, they end up becoming a need, because then they become pressing. But the third thing is wants. And I think what's important for people to understand is a lot of times people feel that they can't have wants. The hopes and dreams in their life, they feel selfish, or they feel guilty if they want something. The truth is, we were all designed with hopes and dreams in our heart. We were created that way, and they're there for a reason, because they're there to help other people. That's all there is to it. And hopes and dreams are there. And I talk in the book about how to pull those hopes and dreams out. Maybe it's something that you dreamed about as a kid, or maybe it's something that you've really had an urge to do that you just haven't taken the time or made a plan to achieve those things. But there are also hopes and dreams that you had that people have kind of maybe poo-pooed on you for them, made you feel bad about them, made you feel like that's stupid, or it's not realistic, or it's something you shouldn't be pursuing. The truth is, if it's there and it's something that you can honestly look at and pursue and say, this can benefit other people, it's definitely something you need to look at. It's definitely something you need to start making plans for. And so the book allows you to do that as well. I've watched my kids. My daughter's an incredible dancer. My son's an incredible baseball player, great students. I've watched them identify their hopes and dreams early in their life, and they're living those things out right now. I've seen that happen in my own life. Different things that writing a book was on my goal list years ago. I didn't even think about it. It wasn't something I set out to do. It's something I actually ended up doing. That was a hope and a dream, that I wanted to do. The funny thing is, I've got a list of these things that I keep on a regular basis. When you go through the success formula, you keep these things, and you don't cross any of those things off that you want to pursue. And eventually, over time, what happens is it's called the reticular activating system, believe it or not. It's in your brain. And it's something that identifies, once you've identified it as a priority, all of a sudden, subconsciously in your mind, you will start actually doing some things or identifying certain things. And you may not even realize you're pursuing those things, but you are. Like, say, for instance, you get a car, right? It's a white Mustang. Well, before you got that white Mustang, I guarantee you didn't see white Mustangs around. But once you got it, all of a sudden, I don't know if you've had this happen before, where you get a car, like, oh, there's one just like mine. Or there's another one just like mine. Well, you didn't notice that before. That's the reticular activating system. Now, all of a sudden, it's a priority. It's in your life. Now you start identifying and pursuing these things subconsciously. So achieving your dreams is a great way. This book is a great way to be able to implement that and start achieving those things in your life. And we've seen it happen over and over and over to hundreds of thousands of people who've taught this tool of, like I said, the last 20 plus years. And it can happen for the reader if they want to implement the success formula.
We were designed to go after our desires, and so, I mean, that makes the universe go around. It connects us all, and it puts the life in life, right? And I see so many people, and I know you've coached many people where you just feel like just this in this stuck mode, and this is the way it's supposed to be. And sometimes we put up those mental roadblocks, and while and like you said, when you just start to put those priorities down, just even your desires, your dreams, of whatever it is, it does put the wheels in motion. Doesn't necessarily mean it's going to happen right away.
Right.
But if you totally block it out, it's never going to happen, right? But if you start pushing towards those things, you don't know the doors that it's going to open up. You don't know. It doesn't necessarily mean it's going to be a direct route to where you go. I mean, sometimes it gets really messy.
Yeah.
Road to there, getting there. And I think you allude to that. And that's what I love in the persistence stuff, because I think a lot of times people will have, I'm going to do this. I've got this priority maybe. And I think sometimes we can let things easily get in our own way and rule it out, or nah, I guess that wasn't for me. I mean, do you want to talk about a little bit about the persistence stuff? Because I think, and I see a lot of times people wanting to do some things, and then they stop, they get stopped by whatever it is.
Well, let me share a couple things. I share a couple stories from the book.
Okay. Yeah.
Mastering person. I think it's so important. I think of the story of my wife and I. We were, I was a pastor for 13 years, and I was presented with a great job opportunity, or business opportunity. And so we had a conference in Vegas when this business was kind of starting, and we knew there was great potential in that business. And so, but we were still, it was succeeding. I think we were about 6-7 months into it. I was, at the time, it was getting so successful that I was considering retiring from full-time paid ministry to do the business full-time. But yet we were still fearful. We knew that this was going to take a lot of effort, persistence to carry it out, to be successful in it. And if we were going to give up my full-time career that I'd known for 13 years prior to that, then I was going to have to, we were going to have to step up to the plate. This is a big deal. And so we were finishing up that conference, and one of the executives, it was our anniversary that weekend, and one of the executives from the company said, hey, we're going to leave early. Why don't you take our suite at the ONE Hotel? Well, duh. Okay, we'll take it. We get there, and it was awesome, right? Right above the strip in Vegas, and it was beautiful. But that night we went out for dinner. It was an Italian restaurant in the ONE Hotel. And the weird thing about it was this: I think it was about 7 or 8 o'clock at night. And normally at that time, it's just kind of busy. And if you've been in Vegas before, it's kind of busy all the time, especially at nighttime when things are going on. But that night we went into the restaurant, and there was hardly anybody there. So we went in, and we had a waiter, and his name was Luke. And he was from China, and an older gentleman. He was probably in his 60s, and he'd come over here to raise money, or to make money for his family, both here and back in China. And so throughout the night, since it was so slow, he just got to talking to us and hearing about our story. And there was a moment where he went over to his wait station, grabbed a receipt, came back over to our table, and he started writing down on this receipt. And he wrote his name down, Luke, and then he wrote it in Chinese. And then he wrote this symbol down. And later on, I did some research on it. It's called REN, R-E-N. And he wrote it down. He wrote the symbol, and then he wrote a knife, and then he wrote heart. And the symbol is basically, it's a knife over a heart. And let me tell you, let me read a little bit about what he told us that night. He said he wrote the symbol down, then he said, this symbol represents the knife over the heart. Anytime you set out to do something you're passionate about and you know is important, the process will not always be easy to achieve. You will have great days and difficult days, but if you keep heart and endure through the process over time with a high level of discipline, consistency, and growth, you will enjoy the benefits of success. We felt that night that Luke was an angel for us. He was telling us that, number one, it was going to be okay, but it's going to be hard. You're going to have some great days of success, and you're going to celebrate those things, but you're also going to have some pretty difficult days too. And if you can endure, and that was his whole point, if you can endure through those difficult times, just like Tammy and I endured through the difficult times in our relationship, just like I'm sure your listeners have endured through difficult times in their life. If you can endure through those things in a positive way, the outcome on the other side, the high on the other side is so high that you would never take that experience away. But you have to persist. You have to make it through step by step through that process. So that to us, that was just a great picture for us that has really driven us on to the success that we've had in so many different areas of our life. And then we share it with people. In the book, I actually show you the receipt. I show you it's in his own handwriting. It's the actual picture of his receipt, which is really cool. The other thing about persistence I want to share is this, is that you've got to be disciplined. Anything worth pursuing, you have to be disciplined on a regular basis. And our son is incredible at baseball. And I remember when he first wanted to try out for baseball for his high school team when he was a freshman, there were like over 60 some kids there. And there was a sign-up day, and they were only going to accept maybe 20. I remember driving home with him that night, and I said, Dylan, did you see how many kids were going to try out? And he said, yeah, Dad, there's a lot. And I go, you're going to have to make a decision right now. I mean, you've done really good from baseball from the time you've been 5 years old, but now you got to really step up the game, decide, do you really want to make the team? And if so, what are you going to do to work towards getting to that point? And I said, you're going to have to make that decision. So we walked in the house, and he ran upstairs, and I went and told Tammy, and I was kind of pretty emotional because I'm like going, this is a first test for him. I mean, he's going to have to make the team. And there's some good kids, some good athletes. He come running down the stairs. He said, Dad, here are 3 things that I really need to work on to make the team. Will you help me achieve those things? And I'm like, absolutely. And so he worked his tail off, and he made the team, threw a no-hitter that year. He was on varsity in high school his last 2 years of high school. He now plays in college. He is one of the only 2 sophomores that started on his college baseball team last year. He's a junior this year, and he's just really doing really well. But I share this story in the book from Mark Batterson's book called Chase the Lion. It's a story about how discipline is key to success. And it's about baseball player George Shotgun Shuba. So it says this: George Shotgun Shuba went on to play 7 seasons for the Brooklyn Dodgers and was on the 1955 World Series championship team. He is celebrated in the baseball book, The Boys of Summer. Roger Kahn, the author, said Shuba's swing was as natural as a smile. Shuba laughed at Kahn's description. During an interview with Kahn, Shuba walked over to his filing cabinet. He pulled out a chart marked with a lot of X's on it. During the offseason, Shuba would swing a weighted bat 600 times a day, and that was after working his off-season job all day long. Every night, he'd take 60 swings, and then he'd mark an X on his chart. After 10 X's, he'd give himself permission to go to bed. Shuba practiced that daily ritual for over 15 years. You call that natural? Shuba said to Kahn. I swung a 44-ounce bat 600 times a night, 4,200 times a week, 47,200 swings every single winter, and you call that natural. The point with that story is this: anything worth achieving in your life, no matter what it is you set out, it's a priority. It's going to take work. It's going to take persistence. And that's the key to really getting your plans implemented. And once you get those plans implemented, hope you have other people around you that are really cheering you on to success.
Yeah, that's huge. I often, I tell people to put themselves first, especially when it comes to health and fitness stuff. We talk a lot about that on the podcast, but for me, when I first started on this fitness journey where I was overweight, overwhelmed, loving Mountain Dew, pizza, beer, you name it, not loving the beer gut that went with it. And I'm looking for all these weird surgeries and stuff for quick fixes, and realizing that it's going to take a long time to save up money for a procedure. And I really didn't want to put in the work, but I realized, gosh, that's within my control, is to do some exercise. And so all I did, because I didn't want to do it, but I just did today. I tell people, just do today and then do it again tomorrow. And all my goal was to put an X on the calendar. It wasn't to track my weights. It wasn't to track my eating and measure my carbs and anything like that. It was to put an X on the calendar and just do today. Yep. And then do the next day. And it added up, it compounds. It's the persistence. And then it fires you up because you start getting some wins, right?
Yes.
At the beginning, it doesn't seem like you get some wins. And I'll tell you what, life loves to to make it sideways, to give you reasons to take you out of the game, to twist an ankle and, make you think, oh my gosh, I've got to now take the next month off because I can't do anything. No, you are able, you are capable, you can do it. Just do today. And that's what guy did. And, it's very evident when somebody can see you and just go, oh my gosh, this is natural for you. You always do this. No, there's a lot of practice that goes behind that. A lot of bad days, a lot of awful times. And you just don't always get to see that story and experience it because you're not me, right? Or you're not the person swinging the bat. So I love that, that you've got that. So tell me, this book's got some amazing resources in it. I was really impressed. I think we talked a little bit about some worksheet stuff, but how does this book work to where people can go through step by step to, begin to apply the success formula in their own lives?
Sure. Each chapter, we talk about a specific principle, and I lay out different tips and ideas and information behind that principle and how to begin to implement that in your life. Then after each chapter, we have action steps. So we walk you through exactly step by step what you need to do to start achieving that principle. And then we have worksheets in the back of the book, and also worksheets that are free to download on our website, where you can keep doing this process over and over. I've been doing this for years. And those worksheets walk you through tracking, each principle, the success in each principle, and walking you through the process. So you have a tool, like when you mentioned, the book's easy to go through as far as a read. I think on the back of it, I've never seen this before in my life, but on the back of the book, in the cover, it says read time, 89 minutes. I've never seen that before in a book when the publisher put that on there. But the reason why we designed the book the way it is we didn't want it to be a bunch of fluff. We wanted this book to be a lot of meat and easy to get through as far as read time, like you said, right? You can read through it pretty quick. But then if you want to go through it and start implementing it, we want it to be something that you're going to dig your teeth into and actually get some results from. And that's why we set it up the way we did. So again, we walk through the chapters, we give you action steps and then worksheets to track your progress and walk alongside you along the way. And then obviously with the website and everything else we're creating with online courses and the mastermind groups, one-on-one coaching and other resources, we're going to give you other resources to help you in those areas of money, people, faith, work, health, and sex. And over time, what we hope to do is we want, One Shot, One Life to be really a franchise where we have One Shot, One Life plan for money, One Shot, One Life plan for relationships and all that. So that's our, dream and vision down the road. But for now, at least we have a foundational tool that people can start implementing right away. And we're really excited about that.
That's awesome. I love that you went through this experience, and maybe you can share a little bit about what happened with Tammy and you, but you went through this experience and then you turned around with a little bit of maybe a nudge and paid it forward for others. And now look what it's evolving and doing to help many other people. I mean, it's not because Doug wants to sell books. It's Doug wants to help you, and here's what he figured out and put together. And if you apply it, you're gonna achieve some success. So what ended up happening? I mean, did you kind of share a little bit about you and Tammy? I think you maybe alluded to it a little bit.
I share a lot of stories of people I've worked with over the years in the book, their successes, their struggles, the things that they've dealt with and all that. One story that I weave throughout the entire book is the story about our relationship, Tammy and I's relationship. We've been married for over 27 years now, which is great. We're actually doing the best we've ever done in our entire lives.
Yay.
And we had great success in our relationship up to, it's been about 12, 13, 14 years ago when I started having real success in the business. And I lost sight of the principles that got me to where I was with my relationship with my wife. And there was a night where I opened up the book where I talk about the story about really the worst fight we'd ever had in our life. And I was so frustrated, with where we were. And I just stormed out of the house and I had to go for a walk. And it was during that walk when I was yelling at myself. You thought I crazy walking around, but if you walk our walk path, you just get on our sidewalk and start walking. It's a circle path about 2 miles long. And I started just stomping down the path and yelling at everybody. And finally got to a spot where, it was by a football field where I thought I could yell at God. And I did. God, why are you doing this to me? Mm-hmm. And it was like I was on the 50-yard line. The thumps of the lights came on. And he's like, very clearly, I didn't do this to you. You're doing this to you. And what I realized at that point is I had allowed the priorities, the success formula in our life, to get out of whack. And I realized I had to be the one to right the ship. And so what I weave through the process of the book is, along with everything else that we have, is how Tammy and I use the success formula to help our relationship grow. And one thing I want to encourage your listeners to is this: if life feels out of control, if life feels just like you don't have, it's passing you by, and you're not happy with it, and things just seem totally out of control, I want you to take some time alone. It's a good little tip, just to take some time alone and sit back and identify your priorities, or maybe lack of priorities. Because a lot of times when life seems chaotic, and I teach this in the book, when life seems out of control, it's a lot of times when your priorities have gotten a little bit out of whack. Just like I did that night, the worst part in our relationship, worst fight that we ever had. I realized that my priorities were out of line. And it wasn't where I was going down a road I didn't want to be going down. And so I had to be the one to step back and say, all right, how do I reprioritize, and how do I make sure that we're going down the road I want to be for my family, for my wife, for my kids, for those around me, and those people that I impact. And so, and my wife is incredible. I mean, Tammy, she's just, she's an absolutely amazing woman. And I wouldn't be where I am without her today. And our story wouldn't be our story. The book wouldn't be the book. One Shot wouldn't be One Shot without that. So,
remember,
that's a little bit about us. We've got some incredible
week.
kids, and we're just excited about our future, of where we're going, and seeing where things go with One Shot as well. So
that's cool. Yeah, that's awesome. And speaking of kids, I mean, kids and teens can benefit from many of the principles within this.
Absolutely. That's why, we have, actually, we're working with a big organization here in Lincoln, and a couple others, principal in another school, that really have come to me and said, listen, our kids need to be going through this. If our kids can learn how to identify priorities early on in their life, then they'll be able to achieve things that they want to achieve, and not go down, not all the times, but not, maybe not necessarily go down the path that they don't need to be going down. I've been fortunate to watch not only my kids, but other people's kids go through the same formula in their life, and start learning that to be successful in life, there is a formula. It's not difficult. It's not new. It's nothing that's a secret. It's a simple, basic formula of identifying what you want to achieve, finding a plan to get there, and then being persistent to carry that out. And a lot of times we just don't teach that to our kids, especially in our society nowadays. We got a lot of time where it's just wasted. And a lot of our kids really want to achieve a lot of great things. They just don't know what to do. It's like that night when Dylan came home to do baseball. He's like, here are the things I want to work on. What do we do? And the next day I sought out to find a trainer. Who could we go to find a trainer to work in those areas? We found somebody that we love, and Dylan started working with the trainer, somebody who had expertise in that field. And he's trained with that guy, even up till today. He'll still train with him once in a while. But that trainer was integral in the part of Dylan having success in baseball, that allowed him to have success in high school, that allowed him to have success and get a great scholarship to be able to continue to play baseball, a sport that he loves. But that wouldn't have happened if he hadn't implemented really the success formula of implementing a practical plan to get and persistent to getting there. And that's just one example. My daughter's another example. There's just a lot. There's a college kid who's actually on our pre-launch team who's read through the book. And he's just like, man, if we would teach this in colleges today, so many kids and so many young adults will be at so higher different levels of where they want to go, simply by understanding what it takes to be successful in life. And a lot of times, it's either not taught, or it just seems like it's something that's you can't achieve. And the truth is you can. But teaching it to our kids is a simple process. It's just a matter of getting it in their hands. And so we're hopefully we're also going to be we do seminars right now for adults, but hopefully we're going to start working on creating a youth seminar and a kids seminar with an organization called City Impact here in Lincoln that reaches out to area youth in town. And so that's kind of hopefully some of our dream for down the road, to be able to implement this and get this into kids' lives so that they can start growing up with this type of success.
Yeah, I mean, we encourage hopes, dreams, but and I know kids, as they go through life, I mean, they can change directions real quick, depending on their influences and experiences as they go along the way. But I think with this part, with having the success buddy is great. But it sounds like a good coach can, if you as a, and I know sometimes coaches can be an investment, but they don't always have to be. But finding a mentor or a coach, I know Boys and Girls Clubs have things like that in different organizations that maybe parents can reach out to. if they don't know where to turn. You were very resourceful in not trying to come up with the answers for your son, but to turn around and say, who can we turn to that has experience to help you reach that? And you had obviously some good coaches and mentors along the way that, sometimes necessarily maybe the success buddy can't always be that one to do the training, and that's not exactly what the success partner is for, but to having a good coach. Did you allude to that in the book, or I can't remember?
Yeah, I talk about that actually quite a bit. I mean, even in developing One Shot, I hired a coach.
Okay.
I hired somebody to walk along with me, to kind of guide me along the process, who had been there before.
Yeah.
In the book, I also talk about, I think, one of the generations that we overlook, that have so much potential in our society, that at least in America, we kind of, once they retire, our baby boomer generation, it's like, well, now that you retire, we put them out to pasture, and all this experience, this wealth of knowledge and experience and success that they've had, we let slip through our fingers. And so I encourage, like I tell the story about when I was plateaued in my business, I had built up a relationship with a guy who was in his late 60s, early 70s at the time, and had sold a multi-million-dollar business. And I just started building a relationship with him. I started telling him about, I was just kind of stuck in my business, plateau with sales and numbers and income and all that stuff. He's like, Doug, hey, let me walk you through what I've learned in business and the things I taught my people, and maybe it can help you. And he was an incredible benefit to me. As a matter of fact, I didn't pay him for that. He couldn't wait to share it with me. We emailed and talked on the phone, and not only that, but he lived in Seattle, and he invited me out one weekend with him and his wife. We spent 2 days. Perry, he had worksheets and papers and a whole binder ready for me when I got there, teaching me about the things he had learned to be successful in business, and things that he thought might help my business, which actually did. There are a lot of things, as you look at my past over the last several years, that have been influenced by a guy who simply wanted to give back. And I think we lose sense of that there are people, not only coaches that we can pay, there are people in friendships and other people that are around that we can meet with, the success partners and mastermind groups. But there are people in our older generation that are older than you, that are willing to give back and share all that they know, and love seeing you succeed. And so I think we miss out on opportunities like that. And so I share that in the book as well. So I just think, I've got a new friend. He's like about 89 years old. He's just a few blocks away from here. One of his quotes is Dr. Warren Wiersbe. He's an incredible pillar in the Christian community. He's written over 170 books, was personal friends with back in the time with Billy Graham and Chuck Swindoll and all these key pillars of the Christian community. One of the things he said, Doug, there's a lot of things in life that you feel like you want to achieve, but your human nature is going to tell you can't do it. And he said, but you can. And then he said this, Perry, he said, this isn't in the book, this is something I've learned from him just over the last few weeks. He said, the world was built by people who said, I can. That's it. And that comes from, and I need that encouragement. I need that encouragement. And that's from somebody who's towards the end of his life right now, who just said, listen, keep moving forward. Keep sharing the message. Keep encouraging people. Don't say you can't, say you can, because that's the way the world's built. And so it's invaluable. Anyway, I could go on and on, but I love my friends that are a lot older than me.
That's really, really cool. And always ask questions. That's how I've learned over the years, is just to, it isn't, there's only so much that I know, but if I can learn more, I just got to ask questions and do that. So what's your hope for the biggest impact that this will have on people's lives, and how can we get a hold of this book here?
Sure. Well, to kind of close this all out, I want people, no matter where you're at, you're listening to this, and there are things in your life, maybe you're struggling with a relationship, or you don't feel like you have enough money to take care of what you need to, or maybe your health is like in the toilet, or you're struggling with things, or maybe there are things you really want to achieve. Maybe there are some goals and dreams that you just don't know the next steps to take. My hope for this book and for what we're doing at One Shot, One Life is that people will start simply taking that very first step to say, listen, I want to start identifying some priorities in my life that I want to achieve, and I want to get a roadmap, a proven roadmap to get there. And so I'm hoping that One Shot will give people not only that, but the courage to be able to start implementing that in their lives. I share the story in my book. I close it out actually with the story of my daughter. It's called The Gift of Being Courageous. And my daughter started dancing when she was 4 years old. And every year, her dance studio, there's 400 or 500 girls in the studio, do a big recital. And when she was about 9 years old, she was asked to do a solo within her group for the recital. And she was all excited, right? She had practiced like she was really good at she was doing. So anyway, we got to the night of rehearsal for the recital. And there were hundreds of adults, moms and dads and kids, running all over the place. It was noisy and all this stuff. And then, each of the groups were rehearsing on stage. Well, the closer it got to her time to get up on stage to practice, the closer she was starting to inch over towards me. And the closer it got, the more we started to see that her lips were quivering. Tears were starting to come down her face. She was getting a little red. And I'm like, Sydney, what's wrong? She's like, Dad, I'm not going to do it. I can't do this. I'm like, what do you mean you can't do it? She said, I'm not going to do this. And she just lost it. She started crying. We're like, Tammy and I are like, what do we do? You're like, our daughter's losing it. She needs to get up on stage. And about that time, her dance instructor, the owner of the studio, came over to her. And I'm going to read from the book so I can read it better than I can say it. She said this. I said, at that moment, Sydney's dance instructor, the owner of the studio, came over, knelt down in front of her, cradled her face gently with both hands, and in a tender, confident, and assuring tone said this: Sydney, I chose you for this solo because I know you can do it, because you are the best dancer to perform it. You have practiced it so hard with your group, and you don't want to let them or yourself down. I know you'll be amazing and beautiful. Now I want you to get up on stage and run through it with your group. She got up she wiped her face, and she kind of, held back her tears, and she went up on stage. She went through it and she did fine. We got in the car that night. She said, Mom and Dad were like, what? Because Tammy were like, what do we say to her? Like, we don't want to cause any more trouble, or make her more nervous. She said, I'm going to do great tomorrow night because I did good tonight. And the next night she was beautiful, unbelievable. I got videos of both nights, and she did an absolutely stunning job. But after that, after the recital, I pulled Tracy, her instructor, aside and I said, thank you for giving Sydney the gift of being courageous. Because if you hadn't come over at that time, I don't think she'd have gotten up on stage. And honestly, I look at where she's been. She's on a national dance team. She's danced for thousands of people locally and across the country. It's what she's passionate about. I don't think she'd be where she's at today if she hadn't been given that gift that night of being courageous. And so what I hope for your listeners, what I hope for people out of the book and what we do at One Shot is I want to give you the gift of being courageous. If I could cradle your face, I want to say you can do it. You've got hopes and dreams, and yeah, there are struggles in your life, but you can do it. You can identify plans and you can get there. You can achieve these things. Just get up on your stage and dance. Get up to the plate and swing. Swing big. So what? You're going to miss once in a while. Who cares? What does it matter? There are things you need to get done. And here's the thing. There are things that need to get done in your life that only you can do. And if you don't do it, no one's going to do it. So my hope is that people will just get up on stage, dance, get up to the plate and swing. If you want to get the book, if you want to learn what we're doing about One Shot, all you have to do is go to oneshot.onelife.com and everything's there. So.
Oh, man. But that was a great way to end the book. Great way to end this podcast too. And I'll post the link in the show notes here too. I really appreciate you for coming on here, Doug. That was a great story. And I'm like, that coach rocks. Those words that she said, I was like, wow. Sometimes some people can just say the right things at the right moment can make all the difference. And to do that. So, so you, OneShot.OneLife.com, and obviously Amazon will be a place. Yep. And there's also some other work that you do, like you're very motivational, life-changing speaker. Can people get in touch with you to, speak to a group, business group, organization, anything, seminars, stuff like that?
Sure. Yeah, we've been doing seminars. We've been testing those out this last year, so those have been really successful. So we'll be expanding those. People can go to OneShot.OneLife.com. There's a contact area there. I speak at organizations. I'm speaking in the group in October, over 600 people. November, speaking to a group there. Work with different businesses and organizations. I've got a luncheon with a national company in a few weeks I'll be working with, and we're actually going to be implementing a seminar within the business realm itself. So we can adapt whatever we do with the book. There is a spiritual foundation because I'm just a Christian. I'm not pushing on anybody, but that's who I am. But we can also tailor that because these principles are just general practical principles that everybody knows, whether you're a person of faith or not. And we can tailor that to your organization or need. I can come in and do the seminar for you. We're working with churches, we're working with businesses. Like I said, we're working with a local nonprofit as well. So we can tailor a lot of this stuff however you need. So if there's something there, there's a message that you've heard. Each of my talks and speeches that we do, I can do touch upon each of the topics of each of the principles and so forth. So yeah, just to get in touch with us to learn more about that, all you have to do is go to oneshot1life.com and you can get in touch with us.
Oh man, and I feel like we got such a gift here because you're on here and we didn't have to go through your website or anything like that. Just reach out to Doug and say, oh, I'm on the podcast, share what you know. That's awesome. We got some training here, people. So Doug, I so appreciate you for coming on, and hopefully this will this book will definitely connect with anybody that gets it and then applies the principles, does the worksheets. It's going to be so great. Thank you for coming on here, my friend.
You bet. Thank you, Perry. It was an absolute honor, and I'm just so thankful that I was able to be here. So thank you.
Oh, it's way cool. Remember, it's never too late. See you next week, everyone. We got it.